Welcome back in now to a Fox 5 in the Courts exclusive. Joe Ellis is a helicopter pilot with the Virginia Army National Guard. And when she woke up the morning after the heartbreaking plane crash on the Potomac in January, she was horrified, not just from seeing the headlines of the crash, but also seeing a viral social media post accusing her of being the pilot in the helicopter and calling it a trans-terror attack. Now she's suing Matt Wallace, the original poster and social media personality, for defamation. And joining us now is Joe Ellis. Joe, talk us through what happened when you realized all of this was happening at the same time that the world was watching this horrific crash.
Sure thing, Katie. I woke up that Friday morning, to text messages from many folks in the military community, and they were telling me that I was being named as the pilot in the crash. And at first I just discounted it, but then I received a phone call from the Daily Mail to my personal cell phone, which I've never spoken to the Daily Mail before. And after that phone call, I Googled myself and realized that this wasn't just some troll in the corner of the internet making things up. This was actually a fairly big deal. And so from then I just relied on my Army training and went into preparation mode. You know, I tried to secure my family, make sure that we're safe. We made provisions and we prepared for a weekend of the unknown.
We are in a world where a social media post can threaten a family's safety at the drop of a hat, and as the old adage says, make its way all the way around the world before the truth has a chance to get up and put its shoes on. Talk us through what you were feeling, the fear for your family, and was there anger? Was it just, you know, focused on getting the job done and making sure everyone was protected?
I didn't have time to really feel much that weekend. It was more of just snapping into soldier mode and taking care of everybody, including myself, and making provisions for the weekend. After that weekend, it did start sinking in, and it was life-changing. I can't go through life the same way as I used to because of this. I was a fairly private individual online. I had a very small Facebook account that, you know, I only posted to friends, and I kept security locked down because of my military service, and just because, you know, I'm not trying to build a platform. And so finding myself thrust into the public sphere and having a magnifying glass on my life was traumatic in a lot of ways. Nothing that I would have ever expected. And while I've been shot at in combat and, you know, done all sorts of things that many people might think are scary, this was scary in itself in a whole new way that I've never experienced.
And now you have filed this defamation lawsuit, which is a burdensome task. It requires you to tell your story, to continue to be in the public sphere, and to really try and hold him to account. And that's a lot of work. Why is this important to you?
Service is in my blood. That's why I joined the National Guard. I believe it's my duty to fight for those that can't fight for themselves. And I've been given a very unique opportunity where I didn't ask for this, but I'm making lemonade out of lemons. You know, it's very important to me that free speech is protected, but it's also important to me that, especially in the trans community, there's so many people being targeted right now online, and there's no recourse for them. You know, not everyone can afford a lawsuit to protect themselves online, and it's just created this wild west on the internet. And the loosening of rules on the X platform is just made it even more so something that happens to people.
As we have talked about on this show, and the legal nerds know, of course there's freedom of speech, but that doesn't include the ability to defame others, which is what you're saying happened here. Talk us through your daily life now and how it has radically changed from where it was with your small Facebook account, not really in the public sphere, and now you're joining us here on Fox 5. Talk about what it has meant to be defamed in your experience.
It was overwhelming. I like to describe the weekend as whiplash, but even afterwards, there's still long-term effects of that injury. And I'm dealing with those. When I go out in public, I don't know if I'll be recognized because people support what I'm doing, or because people hate that I'm military and trans and represent a lot of things that folks don't like. And so I have to look over my shoulder now when I go out in public. And I'm 100 miles from DC, and I go up there all the time. And when I go up there, I'm especially recognized up there because of, how important that story was to the DC area. And I want to stress that Matt took away from the tragedy. And it's not about me and elevating my profile or even necessarily fighting the good fight. It's more about restoring to those families of the victims of the crash that we should have been mourning as a nation during that weekend. And instead, it was a race to the finish to see who the third pilot was. And I was one of many that were accused and dragged through the mud, and maybe the most prominent one. But it's just not the America that I want to be in. I want us to fight for something better and strive to be better people.
Joe, thank you for telling your story. And of course, thank you for your service.
Thank you.